we go. Wonderful. Well, welcome everyone to this 90-minute free energy clearing and rebalancing. My name is Michelle, and I am just so happy to be here with you all. Already in these chats, we have folks calling in from Port Hope, Ontario, from England, from the Magnetic Island, Queensland, Australia. What an incredible, and the Magnetic Island. This is great because we're going to be doing some magnet healing tonight. So that's wonderful to hear. Thunder Bay, Ontario, and I'm in Edmonton, Alberta right now. So for those of you who might be receiving this recording at whatever time it may be that you see it, wherever in the world it is that you'll be watching this, yeah, what feels really present and alive as we begin this is how spectacular it is to have access to tools and resources where we're literally connecting through time and space to collectively do some healing work together. And as I share a little bit more about the practice we'll be doing here today, it seems very valid and important because part of the work that we can do when it comes to energy psychology, when it comes to those of us who maybe such as myself, who believe in the dreaming and this ability to use different realms and ways of navigating time and space. So we're going to be doing some of that in the energetic level. And it's wonderful because even in this physical form, we're already beginning to do that. Each of us are touching a different time and a different geographical space. And so what is it to believe that through energy, through connecting in intentional ways and using tools and resources, that we can actually tap into our subconscious and our psyche and work to clear and remove energetic blocks and stagnation that are causing really pain and limitation and suffering. And what is it to move into this space where we can receive healing in a way that allows us to be more present and more active in moving towards what it is we're calling into our life. And so one of the things I like to tell folks when they work with me is that I don't work in a linear way. How we get from this point to this point will be as much of an unknown to me as you. The tools that I use to get us there is something that I'd like to share with you before we jump in. And the particular modality that we're going to be using today is called the Mayson Method. And so the Mayson Method is a form of energy psychology. And what we do in this particular modality is we use energy testing. So some folks might refer to that as muscle testing. You can do the sway test where you say, show me yes, and your body might move in a particular direction. And then show me no, and your body might move in a different direction. Some people use a pendulum, and the pendulum will respond to the energy. For me, I use my hand, and I'm showing you now because as I get into it, I'm going to be so into it and my hand's going to drop. So you're not going to see what I'm doing. So I want you to know what I'm doing. I like to share my process so that you can listen and hear and wonder about things. And maybe you'll notice things that I'm doing and be like, and resonate with that, or it'll be a familiar practice that you already use or something new that you want to learn more about. And so for me, once we begin, I'm going to get each of you to do what we call the baseline testing so that I can say, okay, because we're each an individual here, but there's something that brought each of you here that is in common in the collective space. So I'm going to find out, okay, this is what it feels like for the collective yes, and this is what it feels like for the collective no. And through that, I'll be using energy testing to help navigate me and how it is we're going to move through our time together. And the particular tool I'll be using today, this is the Mayson Method. This is the kit. And so what this kit is even if you want to see a little closer, all the words will be backwards and it's so well used that they're fading. So, it's a good tool, right? When it's well used. So each of these are filled with water and have been set with the frequency of particular beliefs, emotions, and connected to systems in the body, and a few other magical ones that will bring up should they show up. And what that means is when we look at water, for example, and how water can hold the energy and frequency of whatever it's instilled with, right? So, for example, we're approaching the full moon. And last night I attended a moon lodge online with one of my teachers, Michelle Hansen Cunningham. If anyone wants to look her up, it's Moon Medicine. And she teaches us about the moon water. So, what is it? To charge water with the energy of the moon and set an intention and welcome that into our space, right? When we look at cultures and religions and cleansing practices, the majority of them somewhere will have something to do with sacred water. And so, what is it to intentionally work with water as a tool to move and shift frequencies and promote a sense of healing and to welcome that in? And so, all of these kits, this kit and all of these vials are water that are charged with the frequency of low energies. So, for example, what I mean by that, and I'm going to just get myself set up in a way where I'm present. So, however you want to adjust, if you just want to listen, that's great. And if you're like, okay, I maybe want to put my feet on the ground or lengthen my spine, but the invitation is to connect to the word love. So, in your head or aloud, say love and perhaps welcome in a memory, a color, a person, a place, a food. But what is it that allows you to connect to that frequency of love and bring that into your space here and now simply by intentionally choosing to put your focus towards that? And so once you can hold or at least connect to some resemblance of what love feels like on an energetic level, once again, say love for me, please. Either aloud or in your head, knowing I can't actually hear you, but I'm going to be able to feel it on an energetic basis. Love. Mhm. And so there's a frequency to that. There's an energy to that. And we're going to attempt here to practice what it is to fall into a lower frequency. So, for example, we release love, and I'd like you to intentionally connect to the frequency and vibration of disappointment. So, thinking of a memory, an experience, perhaps there's a color or sensation, and just notice what's happening in your experience. For me, I can almost feel like the energetic gradients, and it's before my energy was up, and I can almost feel it coming down. I'm noticing some scratchiness in my throat as I even call that into my awareness. And when you're there, say disappointment. And so these are examples of different frequencies and different energies. And we're going to bring it back up to love because we never want to end on, well, yeah, I'm going to say we don't want to end on a low frequency. So pulling back up love, we're being in the practice of what is it to work with our energy and believe that even by calling something in, we can begin to shift our frequency. So if you're feeling stuck in disappointment, be aware of that because ideally we're going to clear some of that for you tonight. And we're going to intentionally set our focus on that vibration and frequency of love and call that into our space. Love. Okay. And so the reason we're doing this experiment is because this is how I'm going to be working on my side. You're welcome to feel into it and do it on your side as well. And you're also, once we begin, welcome to lie there and be in a full place of simply receiving. But I want you to, again, I want you to know what it is I'm doing on my end. And so the reason these ones are full of low frequencies is because when we think of our energetic bodies and our overall wellness, and we consider, so what is it from our past experiences, maybe things that have been imposed upon us, whether it be past lifetimes or hereditary patterns or simply conflicting energies that are in our space. When we have these low frequency blocks and beliefs, it can prevent us from bringing in more of what it is we're actually seeking. So, for example, If we are unable to release the frequency of disappointment, we might be able to welcome in 5, 10, 15, 20% of love. But what would it be like to really on a psychic level, on a conscious level, subconscious and soul level, release those blocks so that we can create more space and more capacity to hold these higher frequency energies. So that's a little bit about what we're going to do tonight and how we're going to do it. Great. I think I see someone trying to get in, so we're going to welcome them into this container. Wonderful. Wonderful. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Feel free to settle into this space. And this is one of the great things about, for me at least, about this particular modality. What I believe is that those of us here tonight are here to receive in this particular way because this is in your highest and best interest. And whatever time it is that you're able to come in and join, trust that you're receiving everything that it is you need to know in order to understand where we are and how we got there. And yes, absolutely, you'll be getting the recording of this so that you can hear this first intro that that you weren't present for. And trust also that you're still going to receive the same amount of healing. And if you wanted to listen to this entire recording again, if you anytime, because there's all of these levels in our subconscious and in our psyche. And so if we did this together today, we're going to have a particular experience and things are going to be cleared. And in 3 days, a week, a month, if you were like, I think I could benefit from that type of a clearing again, you could come back here and it would still be valid and effective because your energy is what's calling you back, and it's saying, oh yeah, those particular emotions and blocks that came up are coming back, and I'd like to top it up. So when we think about, prescriptions, for example, I don't prescribe things to people. That's not my practice. It's not the way that I work in the world. And when we look at prescriptions, they say, hey, if you were to take this many whatevers for this many days, you're going to have this many results, and then come back and do that again every 3 months or whatever it is. And so it's similar in the ways in which we're working with our energy. So at any time, once you get this recording, please download it onto your own device because it won't be available forever in that format. But you're welcome to keep it on your device and use it whenever, as often as you want. And you're also welcome to go to my website that I'll put in the chat, www.michellechristine.ca, because I've just started. It's very fresh. So if you go there now, I have a free resource section that only has a couple videos, but every couple weeks, minimum once a month, I'll be adding free resources on there. Some of them is breath work. Some of them will be ecstatic dance and authentic movement. Some of them will be these energy clearings. And so you're welcome to continuously go to that library and use these resources in a way that serves you, and to remember and take notice of what is it that works for you, so that even if you aren't on the internet or you aren't able to access or whatever it looks like, that you're like, oh yeah, when she did this thing, it helped, it I had a reaction and it was beneficial. So even if I don't fully know what she was doing, what if I just do that thing that she showed me I could do and trust that it's going to work, and take deep breaths and see what happens. And so that's part of what we're going to do here tonight. Is I've talked for a little while in a nonlinear way, as I said I would, simply to put a little bit of information into your space, knowing that it might not all make sense, but maybe in time it will. And that by the end of our time together, ideally, there'll at least be one or two things that you can take away and apply to your own life, in situations where you'd like to just begin to clear some of the energy. Okay. So this is what I love too. When I'm like, I'd love to talk forever, I get to ask, is there anything else I need to say? No. Great. Can we go right into the baseline testing? Yes. And then can we set the intention after we've done that? Great. So I'm going to take a sip of water. Should you desire to do the same, go for it. If not, that's okay. Okay. So to set the baseline testing, similar to love and disappointment, we're going to just be doing this quick baseline testing. So please, aloud or in your head, simply say yes. Great. So for me, I can feel this is what the yes hold feels like. And please say no. Please say true and false. And we'll do the love again. Please connect to the frequency, the vibration, a thought, a color, a memory of love. And aloud or in your head, state love. Then we're going to release that. This time we're going to go to fear. So welcoming in that frequency of fear. And when you feel connected to that aloud or in your head, say fear. Okay. And then we're going to bring it back up to love. So welcoming in that higher frequency, that higher vibration of love. Okay. Great. Is there anything else for the baseline I need to do? No, we're connected and we're good to go. So we'll go on and move to permit. Okay. Again, preferably aloud for this particular one. Do I have consent to work with you in your space today? Perfect. So again, I'm testing. If that weren't true, I wouldn't be able to hold for it. Is there any reason why we should not work together at this time? Okay, so there's no reason. And then this is me checking in on a conscious, subconscious, and soul level. Are you aware of what it is we will be working on today? And that holds. On a conscious, subconscious, and soul level, are you willing and able to share it with me at this time? And that holds. And are you willing to take in some amount of rebalancing, shift, healing, change, and transformation at this time? So that holds. Is there anything else I need to do before we move into the intentions? No. So we're good to do so now. Great. Okay. So, and I'm going to be taking some notes simply so that I can remember where it is we are, should I get carried away in some of the clearings here. Great. So taking a moment just to reflect on what it is you've been living. What are the experiences that have been showing up in your life? The patterns. Noticing what it is that's brought you here today to this particular session. And setting your intention. Is there something specific that you would like to move towards? And perhaps there's multiple things coming in to your awareness, and that's okay. Take some time to see if there's one that sticks out the most, because that will likely be the one that gives us the gateway, the keys, the doors into all the other ones. So whatever's arising right now, it's all connected, but we're looking for the one that feels like it has the most weight to it. And if you're uncertain or there's nothing coming up, then what is it to simply set your intention that whatever it is that's in your highest and best interest on a soul level, may it be so that we are able to do something in that direction here tonight. And so for me, for example, I'm feeling quite congested today. I woke up with some slight sinus stuff. And so for me, it can be on a physical level, an emotional level, a spiritual level, but I'd love to release whatever it is that I'm holding on to that's manifesting in this little bit of a cold. If you have a pen and a paper, feel free to write that down. And if not, you can simply just acknowledge it. Okay. And are we ready to continue? Great. And so, what I'm going to be doing again, I'm going to be energy testing to see which anchors and which trapped emotions are showing up as blocks. Once we're able to identify those blocks, we're going to be doing some magnetic healing. And so, what I have is a magnet. Should you desire to have one, a simple magnet off your fridge could work. And we are also magnetic. And if you question that, one of the very simple activities I love to do is just rub your hands together for a minute. Notice that friction, that heat. You don't have to go hard or particularly fast. Play around for a minute with that. And when you feel ready, you could just open your hands. Notice the tingling, the vibration, the frequency. And if you imagine the energy that is flowing between your hands right now, you might even be able to begin to feel a particular shape or strength or quality. It might grow smaller or expand. But we are magnetic. We live in a magnetic north. We live in a planet where there's a magnetic north, the magnetic south. We are magnetically drawn towards or repelled from people, places, things. And so, what is it to work with magnets as an energy tool for healing and change and transformation? And so, once we find and establish what blocking and limiting beliefs and anchors and emotions we'll be working with today to clear them in order to move towards your intention, I'll be using my magnet and simply running it over my head. And the reason I'm doing this, I'm on my forehead where I'm engaging that frontal cortex of the brain, and I'm moving down towards my spine. And what that is an access point into the key meridian. So, as energetic beings in our physical body, there are energy points, and those meridians hold, well, magic powers, of course, no. But they're portals for us to release. And it allows us simply by doing this. I know, believe it or not, right? Simply by doing this, it allows us to tap into those meridians so that we can move and shift energy. So you'll see this variations of this in so many different energy healing modalities, right? In acupuncture, they have acupuncture points. They work along the meridians. We have the chakras. As energetic beings in physical bodies, we are a map of different energy points. And this is one out of many, 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 many ways to work with that energy. And I have decided that based on my experiences working with this particular modality, that this is the one that I have chosen to commit my practice to, simply because I find it effective. It's something that I have leaned on since I was around 17 years old. And whether it was every week or once a month or, 3 years might have passed. And over time, regardless of who and how many different types of practitioners and healing I was introduced and had the honor and privilege of working with and receiving, this is something that I continuously came back to. And so when I learned that there was an opportunity to be trained as a practitioner, I said yes. And the results of working with people in this particular modality um, just became an undeniable thing. It was like, well, if it worked for me and it's working for people, I'll continue to offer it and allow the individuals that I'm in those exchanges with to decide, is this the particular modality for you at this time based on what it is you want to do? Do I still receive acupuncture? Yes. Do I still go to different types of breath work and healing? And do I offer different modalities? Absolutely. And so, just like physical tools, for some things you might need a hammer, and for something else you might need a wrench. And so, what is it to learn all of what's available and begin to discern and practice and try out what's going to work best for you based on where you're at in your life and what it is you're experiencing? Okay, Michelle, we're going to keep going. Great. So, I've told you what it is I'll be doing on my end. Ideally, you have set your intention, and if not, we're setting the intention for you to receive whatever is in your highest and best interest based on what it is that you'd like to call in on a conscious, subconscious, and soul level. And we're going to move into the clearing. So I'll try to keep my hands up for a few minutes, and inevitably they will fall. So we're going to be going into column 1. Is it 1 to 5? Is it 1? Okay. So already some of what we have that's shown up is an anchor of abandonment. And what anchors are is when we look at ourselves, imagine yourself, your energetic being, as a wide open ocean, and we want that water to be clear as possible, but yet there's like a boat, and it's like, well, what is that boat? And that boat might be a limiting belief, or an unserving emotion, or a story that you're unable to release. Well, what is it that's holding that in place? What is the anchor that's making it challenging and difficult to release that particular belief of? And so this is what we found, is that somewhere on a conscious, subconscious, or soul level, there may have been an experience in this life, a past life, or inherited to you or imprinted from you onto you, of abandonment that is anchored and holding a low frequency in your space. So it's come and said, hey, I'm ready to be released today. So thank you, abandonment, for showing up. Is there anything else in column 1? Is it 2 to 5? Is it 5 to 10? Is it 5, 6, 7? Okay. So we have an anchor of grief. And again, when these show up, it's not to say this is bad or this is wrong or there's no place for this. Everything, I believe that the things that we've experienced in our lives have come here to teach us on some level, not in regards to, oh, well, that was okay, or you deserve that. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying, if we look at life from the perspective of a soul journey and what it is we're here to learn, it's maybe there was something to receive in and through abandonment. Maybe there's something around grief that is helping us to learn and evolve. And at the same time, although they served a purpose, they don't have to stay. So, whatever it is that's anchored them into our space, may we release those anchors so that they may come into cycles of completion and move out of your experience in a good way. 8 to 10, 10 to 15, 10, 11, 12. So, we have an anchor of trauma. Is there anything we need to say to that? There is. Is it simply okay? And so, whether these traumas are big traumas or little traumas, sometimes when I consider trauma, it's what did we experience or endure that created stress in our lives? And a toxic stress from the point of it was difficult for that stress to be relieved. And so sometimes if we're a victim of a particular experience, or if we have loss or pain or near death or tragedy, whatever it is. And again, if I were to do this with a group of adults versus a group of children, our understandings of what causes stress in our life might be very, very different. But yet the way that our body processes that stress is very similar. Our nervous system still goes into reaction and response, a fight, flight, or freeze. We still go into survival mode. And so when trauma comes up, it's us noticing, okay, there has been experiences that have anchored this particular response into our body. And it's not to say we're going to clear and get rid of the trauma, but we're going to do what we can to release the hold and the permanence of the impacts of that trauma in your space now. Is there anything else we need to say about that? No. Okay. 13 to 15, column 2, 1 to 5, 5 to 10, is it 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So we've been working in the beliefs and the anchors, and we're moving into the emotions. So there is a trapped emotion of crying. Often people say, like, what do you mean there's an emotion of crying? And so on that energetic level of emotions, when we look at energies in motion, crying, again, going back to those this what I was saying about healing waters, what is it to consider the relationship with crying? And is it that perhaps you have a relationship where you cry often, because crying is a way to express emotions and is available to you? And so perhaps instead of expressing anger or frustration, crying is something that comes more freely. And perhaps it's the opposite, where crying is actually something that's been suppressed and is something you're unable or unwilling or feel unsafe to do. And so it's always, whenever crying comes up for me, it's simply an invitation to look at what is your relationship in that way, and take note of it. If you feel the urge to cry, do you allow yourself to cry or do you suppress it? And if you're feeling something else, right? If you want to yell, or if you want to express yourself in a different way, but crying is what's easier than holding a boundary, for example, then also look at that and notice the relationship between your emotions and the way that they're being expressed. And what happens when, even when someone says, "What's your relationship with crying?" Simply get curious about that. Yeah, just get curious about that. There more on this. No, 9 to 10, 10 to 15, 10 to 15, 10, 11, 12. We have an emotion of despair. 13 to 15, column 3, 16 to 20, 20 to 25, 20, 21, 22, 23. We have an emotion of lost. 24 to 25, 25 to 30, 25 to 30, 25, 26, 27, 28. Okay. An emotion of shame. 29 to 30. Are we in column 4? Is it 1 to 5? Is it 5 to 10? Is it 5, 6, 7? The nervous system has shown up. So when we look at the weight and the stress of some of these emotions and beliefs, and we work in the energy bodies, when a system shows up for me, because I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to say there's something right or wrong. It's not about that. It's simply about energetically the nervous system, because that's what's shown up today. So the nervous system is the one that's showed up to say, hey, I've been the one that's been holding the impacts of these trapped anchors and these trapped emotions. And I can benefit from a little bit of clearing and rebalancing to come back into full alignment, harmony, and balance. And so that's what we're seeing today. So thank you for showing up. Is there anything 8 to 10, 10 to 15, 10, 11, 12, 13, 8? And the aura has shown up. So that energetic body that some believe extends, when it's in a good way, about 4 feet in every direction, above, around, below, and that energy body. And often what I find is when we're feeling low, when we are holding these low frequency beliefs and emotions, our energy body begins to close, and it gets colder and closer to us. And what I believe is what that means is when other people with really big energies come into the space, it well, we continue to shrink a little bit. So, what is it for us to feed our aura, to clear anything that has penetrated that energetic protection, expression of ourselves? And what is it to feed that so that we can radiate more of who we really are out into the world instead of taking on other people's stuff that doesn't actually belong to us and doesn't serve us and we don't need to hold it, but maybe we haven't yet understood or learned the tools to let it go. So we're going to do some clearing with our auras and bring that energetic field around you back up. 14 to 15. Is there anything in whites? Greens. Is it 6, 7, 8, 9 to 10, 10 to 12, 12 to 15? Is it 12, 13? It's 13. Hmm. So all knowing has showed up. I need to know more. Great. So when all knowing shows up, this is that column where I said, there's another column, but I'll only talk about it if it shows up because it doesn't always show up. And for us in this particular constellation today, it has shown up. And so all knowing, we're working with the third eye, the chakra that's right in here, that place of vision, right? All knowing. And so what we're going to be doing, I have this secondary resource list here because we've been told we need a little more information. Okay. Give me one moment there. So again, this particular chakra, this all knowing, what we're going to be working with is the energy of truth, self awareness, and the ability to learn from experiences and spiritual connectedness. And I'm going to go to this list here. There we go. So being able to access the higher truth and whatever blocks are connected to that. So are we looking for more than one? We are. Are we looking for more than five? No. Is it 1, 2, 3? Okay, we're looking for three. Three blocking beliefs. All right. And remember, all of this is connected to your specific intention that you've set for yourself. We're looking for three? Is it 1 to 5? Is it 5 to 10? Is it 5, 6, 7? Okay. So rejection of the masculine. And again, that can mean many things. So in your own consciousness, your own awareness, look and see, is this a rejection of the masculine around you? And that doesn't necessarily mean men, but it can mean what is your relationship and your understanding of masculine energies? And is this rejection something outside of yourself? Is it an external rejection, or is it the parts of yourself that you've rejected as masculine? Those more action oriented, firm um, components of structure, accountability, right? It's not just men, women. When we look at masculine and feminine energies, we are both. The whole universe has masculine and feminine energy, and perhaps you might have more feminine energy or more masculine energy, but what's showing up is the rejection of the masculine energy. So in your own lived experiences in your own space, what does that mean for you? Because we want to bring balance of both the masculine and the feminine, honor to both the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine. And what we're being shown is that there's blocks that are perpetuating a rejection of the masculine, whether it be in yourself or in your relationship to the world or your relationship with masculine people and figures and places in your life. There's something coming in even around like the workplace. Do you live or do you work in an action oriented, very structured, no space for feelings, no fluidity, no creativity? What does your house look like? Is it so orderly are you lacking creativity and color? But this is an invitation to get curious about what that means to you and the ways in which there may be an imbalance in that masculine and feminine flow and expression. We're looking for two more, 8 to 10, 10 to 15, 10, 11, 12. An inability to absorb the truth. Okay, is there anything else we need to say about that? No. That one's an inability to absorb the truth. 13 to 15, 15 to 20, 15, 16, 17. And being closed off. This is good. So, right, when we look at being closed off, you have found yourself here, either in this space now or in this space retroactively receiving this recording. And should it be that you've made it to this part in the journey, when we're looking at your intention, are you closed to receive what it is we're clearing here? Are you closed to releasing some of what's shown up, even though it said, "Hi, I'm here," saying, "I'm going to go so that you can move forward towards what it is you're calling into your life." And so when we look at being opened and being closed, where on a conscious, subconscious, and soul level have you closed yourself off to the healing and the change and the transformation and what it is that you're actually calling into your life? And so, should that resonate with you in any way? Again, I'm laughing a little bit when I was like, "Oh, this is great," and a welcome who those who have just arrived. Thank you for showing up. May it be that you're able to simply receive. And I'm just going to do a quick check that we are energetically connected and I have consent to do this work in your space. And there's no reason why we should not. Wonderful. So we're going to continue to move forward. And if you notice skepticism, I love this. I had a client say to me today, we've been working together for over a year now. And she said, "I know I was so skeptical when I first met you, and part of me still is, but yet it just works, and I just love it, but even part of me still doesn't believe it." And so every now and then, every few months, we just check, "Are you closed?" "No, you're still open." "Well, could we expand that opening even just a little bit more? What is that like? What is that like?" And doing it in a way that matches your experience, that matches your capacity. And so should you ever notice thoughts or patterns of being closed to possibility, closed to relationships, closed to anything else, you finish that sentence. What are you closed off towards? And how might we remove whatever's holding that in place so that you may remain more open? Maybe it's your heart, right? What we're doing is all of this right now. We're working under that third eye chakra, that all knowing. So, are you closed to that vision? Are you closed to the ability, right? Because right above this, we've got the inability to absorb truth. So, how is it that we're going to move this energy so that you can be more in line and more able to hold and absorb truth as defined by perhaps you, perhaps the universe? I'll let you decide. But this is what we're going to be doing. Do I need to talk anymore? No. Okay, great. So then we're going to continue on. Is there anything else in this particular category that we need at this time? No. Is there anything in the kit that we need at this time? Might we move into the clearing? Okay. So you might sit there in a place of relaxation. What I'm going to be doing is I've got my magnet here that we're going to be using as the tool to clear and release some of this energy. And I'm going to simply be running this over my head and connecting to the spine, taking deep breaths. So, whatever position it is you find yourself in, even if you're driving or moving around, what is it to simply slow down a little bit, to notice your breath? Perhaps you're imagining the rain washing some of this away. Perhaps you're watching me as I'm clearing any and all of these layers as I'm activating that central nervous system, those core meridians, opening them as the portals, and calling out and releasing any and all of these blocks. Starting with the rejection of the masculine, any and all ways that this belief, that this block has been created and present and cycling in your experience. Maybe release it now on a conscious, subconscious, and soul level. Deep breath in and exhale. And clearing and releasing any and all blocks, manifesting as an inability to absorb truth. May we clear and release them now. And as we move this energy, the body might respond. I yawn a lot. So if I start yawning, that's why. Sometimes my eyes will water because I do have some sinus stuff going on right now. I notice my eyes get a little bit, feel puffier, close a little bit more. My nose might do something. I'll get a tightness in my throat. Sometimes I have full body tingles. Sometimes my feet and my hands will begin to actually move and tense. And so all of that is our body letting go and releasing this energy. So continue to take deep breaths and allow yourself to relax as we clear and release any attachment, any blocks, any contracts, any binds to being closed off. As we clear and release these on a subconscious, on a conscious, subconscious, and soul level. Through all time, all space, all dimension, and all directions, we clear and release all of the origins and all of the impacts. Thank you. We clear and release any and all stagnant energy or limiting beliefs and blocks connected to all knowing. We clear and release any blocks that prevent us from accessing our higher truth. Take a deep breath. There we go. And we clear and release any and all anchors of abandonment. And if any time you're moving your arm and it gets tired, you can simply switch. If at any time there's high emotions or an energetic charge and you need a little extra support, you can simply tap around your chest on that heart center, that chakra there, as we clear and release any and all anchors of abandonment, any ties, any tethers, any contracts. We clear and release these now on a conscious, subconscious, and soul level. And we clear and release the anchors of grief. Any and all ways in which we feel, believe, experience the presence of grief in a way that is no longer in service to our highest and best interest. May this come to a place of completion. Not because grief is not welcome, but because at this time it is showing up in service and is willing to be released. Simply the hold of it. It doesn't mean that grief won't be present, but the hold of it in our lives is showing up and saying, I'm ready to soften. Taking a deep breath in as we clear and release the hold of grief. And clearing and releasing any and all trauma. The anchors of trauma. Release of trauma. On a conscious, subconscious, and soul level, may we clear and release these now. Thank you. And clearing and releasing the trapped emotions of crying, Any energetic, physical, mental, emotional blocks related to crying, may we clear and release you now. Great. And simply notice what's happening in your body without judgment, without trying to shift or change or fix it, simply noticing. And as we clear and release all trapped emotions of despair, clearing and releasing all trapped emotions of despair, may this emotion come into a place of full completion. Thank you. And clearing and releasing all trapped emotions of loss. May we clear and release you now. Oh, there we go. And clearing and releasing all trapped emotions of shame. And so if you're here with us, please just continue to take deep breaths, noticing the inhale, the exhale, noticing the energies as they're moving and cycling, and imagine yourself as they're exiting, as they're releasing your space, as they're going back to their place of origin and transmuting into something else, as we clear and release all emotions of shame. Deep breath. And as we clear and release any imbalance in the nervous system, any ways in which this system of the body, the system that governs both our risk response, right? Our nervous system is the one that when we feel at risk goes into that reaction, fight, flight, freeze. It's the one that has that primal instinct to create adrenaline so that we respond to get ourselves out of tricky situations, but it's also what is responsible and governs our rest and digest. So if you are having digestion problems, if you're having problems sleeping, what is it in this moment to imagine that we're clearing and releasing any and all blocks, anything that keeps us in that heightened state of activation, as though we must always be on high alert? What is it? To relax the shoulders, relax the jaw, to notice the chest, maybe allow yourself to sink a little bit more into your seat. Taking a deep breath and allowing any stagnation, any unserving energies in the nervous system to be released so that you may find a place of equilibrium. You may fall even just a little bit more deeper into that state of rest, rejuvenation, allowing the organs to heal and be nourished from this. Deep breath in, letting that go. And as you stay in this place of relaxation, this is great. Because what I'm going to do is continue to clear any and all unserving energies, limiting beliefs, blocks, imprints, contracts, binds from your aura, from that energetic field, the expression of yourself on a vibrational level. May we clear anything and everything that has penetrated your space, that has suppressed your space. What might it be for us in this moment to clear the walls that might be holding that back, and to release anything and everything that is in that space that is no longer yours, no longer serving? And just like we can purify the air in a space, imagine as though we are purifying and cleansing your energetic aura from the inside. We've cleared these limiting and blocking beliefs. We've opened that third eye chakra. We've regulated, ideally, even just a little bit, the nervous system. So from whatever space it is you find yourself in, how might you rest even just slightly deeper? And imagine as though, whether it's from your heart or your third eye, whatever energy center is alive in this moment, as you take deep breaths in and out, imagine that that energetic bubble that is you, that field of energy and vibration and frequency that is really you is beginning to expand from these energy centers of the heart to the third eye. Perhaps there's a different space in the body. Whatever it is that your inner awareness is showing you right now, might you listen to that and bring your awareness, your attention to that area in the body as we clear and release any and all opposing energies, blocking this space in full expansion. Taking deep breaths. And as you breathe, imagine that that space is filling your entire body on a cellular level. It's flowing through you. Imagine it exceeding the edges of your body. What is it to imagine that the essence of who you are on a soul level, on an energetic soul level, is beginning to expand beyond your physical body, that physical vessel, as we clear and release any and all opposing beliefs, energies, emotions on a conscious, subconscious, and soul level. And continue to breathe as that aura, that energy field expands, beginning to fill the room that you sit in, that you lay in, that wherever it is you find yourself. What is it to believe that you can fill that space with the essence of who you are, becoming more of who you are meant to be, who you've always been? May you remember. Okay, and to sit in that for a moment and simply notice. Can you feel that energy field around you? And how far from your body might it expand? Is it a centimeter? Is it a meter? Is it 4 meters? And it's not good or bad or right or wrong. Just simply notice what those edges are. And be with that for a moment. Is there anything else we can do from the kit on this one? As I run the magnet, we're simply going to clear just a few more times to ensure that you can hold it at this or perhaps even bigger. Clearing and releasing any limiting beliefs, any trapped emotions, any blocks, anything and everything that is opposing the strength and expression of your aura, of your personal energy field in the highest and best interest to you. Take a deep breath in. You can just shake that out if it feels right. Maybe move your fingers or your toes a little bit, or just take a deep breath in. There we go. Okay. So placing hands on the heart or staying in a position of stillness wherever you find yourself. Just notice your experience. As you connect back to your intention, has that shifted? What I mean by that, has something completely different and new come in? Do you feel more capable or less capable or about the same in terms of holding, receiving, living that intention? Knowing that perhaps it isn't going to come to you in this moment, but whatever it is that we've done here today is supporting you in that direction. So just notice, has that connection to your intention, the possibility, the closeness of it into your lived experience, has that come closer, further away, or stayed about the same? Great. So with that in mind, I'm going to check and see how might we bring it closer. I'm going to see what else is ready to be released. Are we in column 1, 1 to 5, 5 to 10 is a 5, 6, 7. Great. So we've got a little bit more grief that has showed up. And so I'm wanting to share because when we say grief, it's not that we're releasing the experiences that caused us grief, right? As humans, as collective beings, sometimes the things that we're grieving, like they're important and they have meaning, and we don't want to just throw it all away. But what we want to clear is the intense emotional suffering caused by the loss, disaster, or misfortune. So that acute sorrow and the deep sadness, that is what we're trying to release. Or if there's something in your life, like perhaps it's a really intense annoyance or a harassment or something that's ongoing. And what we want to do is clear what it is that's causing you grief. If you're not in grief, the experience of grief, but there's grief being put upon you, those are different ways to consider what this means. And so, however that falls into your experience, whether it's conscious or not, I just wanted to add that in there to add a little bit more context to what that could be, because grief has shown up twice. Is there more we need to know at this time? No. Can we continue? Yeah. 8 to 10, 10 to 15, 10, 11, 12, 13. There is an anchor of worthless. Anything else in reds and blues? 1 to 5, 5 to 10, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's an emotion of crying. Second time that one's showed up too. So if any of you need to have a good cry, if it's available to you now, please do so. If not, the next time it comes up, please just notice and see what that's like. And if you can allow yourself to go there, whether it's in private or not, but is it safe for you to allow those healing waters to come through your being and support you in whatever release it is that's asking to be had? 9 to 10, 10 to 15, 10, 11, 12. Despair. So that's also shown up again. 13 to 15, column 3, 16, 20, 20, 25, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Panic. 25 to 30, yellows, whites, greens. We can clear these. Great. So we're going to go ahead and clear that. So continuing to take deep breaths, connecting to your intention and your ability and capacity to hold your intention as truth, as something that you are really willing and able and ready to call into your life here and now. As we clear and release any anchors of grief connected to this, any blocks, any limiting beliefs, any and all ways in which grief is present and preventing this from coming into your reality, we clear and release you now. Thank you. And we clear and release any and all anchors of worthless on a conscious, subconscious, and soul level. And we clear and release any and all emotional blocks of crying. In a conscious, subconscious, and soul level, any way in which this is unserving, may that be released so that this healing modality, this ability for crying, this expression might come into balance. May we clear and release any and all emotions of despair. May we bring this emotion of despair into a place of completion so that it may be released here and now on a conscious, subconscious, soul level through all time, all space, all directions and dimensions. Thank you. And may we clear and release the anchors of panic. May we clear and release any and all anchors of panic on a conscious, subconscious, and soul level. Thank you. And has this been released? Yes. And so once again, checking in with your intention. Noticing. Has your ability and willingness to hold this intention as truth gone up, down, or stayed the same? Not judging it, not trying to fix or change it, noticing any stories that may come up in relation to this, but simply to notice so that over the coming days, you're able to check in again and say, hey, has my ability, belief, and willingness to hold this intention as true in this moment, has it gone up, down, or stayed the same? This is, for me, it's tracking. You're tracking. And so this up, down, stayed the same. It's a very simple way to track the progress or the shifts or the change or the evolution. If you'd like to, you could even set, if you want to continue to work with this intention, you could use a scale with numbers. If 10 is you're living that intention and it's in your present experience and it's full expression here and now, that would be a 10. If it's not present at all and you can't even hold it as a possibility for yourself anytime, that would be a 0. Where are you on that scale? And as you continue to work and clear and move the energy, are you moving towards that intention, staying further away from it? Or sorry, moving further away from it, or staying about the same? And that's a way for you to track where it is in that relationship. Is there anything else that we can do in the kit today at this time? No. Are we moving into the closing aftercare? We are. Okay. So this is going to be unique and fun. Mostly because I think most things in this realm are, but also because I imagine that if you're watching this, whether it's here now on this screen or in the future, I maybe don't know. I don't know what your intention is. I don't know what it is you've set for yourself. So I'm simply going to offer suggestions of steps that you can take in the coming days or weeks or months so that you on your own, should you choose so, can implement that into your life and begin to track this intention. It is the beginning of a new calendar year. So should you value that, should that be a metrics of measuring time and space that you use? Um, what is it to be aware of this intention that you've set for yourself this year, 2023, and begin to work with that and see how you might bring it closer into your life, into your lived experience here and now. Because as long as you hold it in the future, that's where it's going to stay. So, how do we begin to pull it in and meet it and allow it to meet us in a good way? Right. So, it's almost the full moon. I'm going to sip this water one more time. And so, should you choose to, it's beautiful because I think about at this time, at least where I am, I know some of us are very far away. So you're in the middle of the day. But what is it? I don't know. Maybe you can even see the moon in the day. Today, here in Edmonton at about 4 o'clock in the car, we're driving. The sky is so blue. It's not dark yet. And you can just see the moon in her almost fullness. And it was such a beautiful contrast. It's wow, this is how you look with the still the presence of the sun. Sometimes you can see the moon at noon. But what is it in these days leading up to her fullness to set your intention in water, right? Because if water holds the frequency of the intentions of that we set in it, if anyone's interested, you can go on YouTube and you can Google. People are doing, there are scientific experiments where folks will put the word love on water and you put it in the freezer, and you can put the word fear on water and you put it in the freezer, and you look at the way that the patterns in the water have frozen, and you look at the stories that that tells, because there's such different frequencies. And so, if you'd like to experiment and explore that, you're more than welcome to, of course. And if you simply say, okay, I'm going to believe that I can put intentions into water, and that as this water enters the waters of my being, that we're beginning to contribute to that shift, that healing, that change, that transformation. And so if you have a glass bottle and you want to whisper or speak or pray your intentions into your water and put it into your window, and let the power, the illumination of this full moon in the next 3 days coming into that, and then sip on it every day. And remember what your intentions are and notice, am I allowing myself to hold this intention here and now, more, less, or the same? So the water ritual, particularly around the full moon, is always something beautiful that I do every month. So if you'd like to bring that into your rituals and your routines, that's one offer. And again, just like what we did with our hands, we are magnetic, and this particular meridian is an entry and access point. And so you likely don't have a kit with you, and that's okay. But what you can do is anytime you notice that you're moving away from this intention, or perhaps you're even just feeling dysregulated or anxious or in a low frequency experience, your body will tell you those sensations, that activation, that adrenaline will begin to come. And what is it to breathe? To come back to the breath, to remind yourself, okay, I'm safe. There's actually not a predominant threat at this moment. And if there is, tend to it, of course, right? But if it's not, and you're like, oh, the fear is in my mind, it's something that's been activated that I'm reliving, even though it's not here and now. Come back to the breath, take a moment to regulate, or as long as it takes, whatever's available, and use these magical healing hands. And even if you don't know the words, you can just say, I clear and release any and all limiting beliefs, trapped emotions, and low frequencies in my space at this time. I clear and release. And whatever it is, it doesn't, our mind cares about what the words we're saying, but our energy body doesn't. It's just looking for direction and purpose. And okay, so what's going to happen? Well, this is what's going to happen. We're going to clear and release you, and we're going to keep working as long as we need to, and just notice, is whatever it is I'm experiencing going up, down, or staying the same? And that's what I do. I do it. I just spent a few days in a large group of people. It was very stimulating. I was not used to that many people. And there was a morning where I thought, wow, I'm feeling relatively dysregulated and a little bit imbalanced. So, what are the tools that I can have to bring myself into alignment and balance and clear whatever it is that's entered my space that isn't serving me and isn't actually mine? And I started with breath work. And then I went out onto the lake and I just looked at the sky and I oriented myself. What do I see? Okay, I see the snow on the trees. Maybe in Australia, you're going to see flowers on the trees. That's so exciting to think of. Um, I notice the gradients of the sky where it's pink and it goes into blue and then moves into a white, and really just take some time to orient yourself to your external environment and then shift your awareness back to your body. What are the sensations in your body? Where might you be holding tension? Where might you be able to soften and open and relax just slightly? And then, okay, I still need to do some clearing. Okay, I clear and release any and all limiting beliefs, trapped emotions, and low frequencies here and present at this time on a conscious, subconscious, and soul level. Whatever it is you want to say, or even if you're just, I give myself permission to release. Whatever it is you want to do. If you have other tools, absolutely use them. Sometimes co-regulation. Sometimes it's who could you be in company with? Might you need a hug? Might you need to tell someone and verbally process? Might you need to create an altar? But there's different practices and tools that you can do. And what is it to be curious about the ones that work for you? Perhaps there's movement. Do you need to take a walk? Do you need to just literally shake it off? And can you give yourself permission to do that no matter where you are? Is there anything else for the aftercare? Okay, so the moon water, keep drinking your water. And revisit this intention. So write it on a piece of paper that you want to see it on your mirror or in your wallet. Maybe you want to put it on an altar. But if this is an intention that you really want to work with, how can you be in service to that intention? And I say feed it, right? If you imagine that this intention is a living thing, what is the intention asking for? Well, I imagine it's asking for your attention. and some action. So even if tonight you spend 5 to 10 minutes considering what are 3 things you could do to honor and take some action towards this specific intention. And again, I don't know what your intentions are. So it could be, I want more love and connection in my life. It could be, I want to eat healthy and work on my relationship with my body. It could be, I want to switch my job and get a different career. It could be, I want to feel healthier and release any symptoms of illness or lack of health in my present experience. So what are 3 things that you might do to honor that and then move towards it? And because my experience right now, it's a very physical one that I'm working on. I'd love to get rid of this cold. So I'm going to try to go to bed at a decent time. I'm going to believe and continue to say that I'm going to prioritize feeling better. And I'm not going to fall into any stories or energies of getting, more sick or whatever, right? Like it's a opportunity to look at what are the beliefs and the stories that are either pushing us towards our intention or pushing us away. Wonderful. Okay. So we're almost coming to the close of this 90-minute session together. Thank you so much to those of you here on this call at this time, whether it be 1 in the morning, so I don't know now, later than that, 2:30 almost, whether it be 1:30 in the afternoon or 9:30, 7:30. Please know that I'm just so grateful for your willingness to be here at this time and to participate and receive in this particular practice. Should you want to connect again, please check out my website. If there are things you'd like to see on there, I'd love to know. I'd love to know what tools and resources would people like access to. If you'd like to continue sessions with me, please let me know. And I will be offering a free monthly clearing, because I want this to be accessible. I want it to be something where people can receive without feeling obligated to have resources. And so, thank you. You're very welcome. I'm so glad. Thanks for the comments here in the chat. I'm so grateful for your willingness to be here. I'm going to put in this little chat thing on Instagram. Oh, I think this is true. I think it's Michelle Christine, if not www.michellechristine, and all of my information is there. And if you do have any questions, comments, concerns, please do put them in the chat, and I'd love to answer those in these next few minutes. And please just take care of yourself. And my wish for you, my prayer for you, my intention and plead is that you move from this space into the next space in a way where you feel rested and rejuvenated and more capable on a conscious, subconscious, soul level, body, mind, heart, soul, to hold your intention and to make it your reality here and now. I will put the future clearings on Instagram. And maybe this is great, wonderful intention. Maybe this whole thing can help me with that. I'm hoping to find a date that's consistent. So, for example, today's Wednesday, so maybe it's like the first Wednesday of every month there can be an offering, every full moon, every new moon, something like that. So thank you, Tina. I'm gonna do something about that this year and set some intention. So how do I find out more about how to make the moon water? Wonderful. So how do I want to answer this to you? So there's different ways. Realistically, you might be able to just Google it and learn from people who have written blogs or teachings online. I'm going to encourage you not to do that, though. If your mind likes to know, you could do that. But what I'm going to encourage you to do instead is to build a relationship with the water and build a relationship with the moon. And what I mean by that is get curious, which you're already curious because you're asking questions, which is beautiful. So when we think of water as a sacred healing tool, and we think of the moon as this beautiful essence that contributes and governs, right? When we look at the ocean, for example, the moon and water have this beautiful relationship where it literally changes the tides, right? Like it can pull the tides and push the tides back. And so when the moon is in her fullness, my teachings are that the grandmother, that the moon is a grandma. In some places, the moon is masculine and they call it grandfather. For me, in the place of the northern hemisphere where I live in Canada, my teachings are that the moon is the grandma and she's up in that sky and she's here watching over us. And when we are looking for support and guidance, she'll be there. So what is it that you need and what is it that you're praying to her? So if you want to learn about it, what is it to be with your water, to fill a glass vessel of any sort that you have, to hold it and simply speak speak to it. And that could be as simple as like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know what it means to build a relationship with you or you. I don't know, but here I am and I'm showing up and I'm going to try to do it. And this is the intention that I set for myself today. And I'd really, really love the opportunity to experience this. So might it be that you, moon, infuse this water and support me in moving towards that. And really to just pray into the water with the moon as your witness and begin to see what happens. And the biggest thing, that's the ritual to charge the water, but once the water's charged is how are you going to consume that water? As though it's a sacred drink, because it is, that now has spells and potions and possibilities in it. And so every time you go to sip that water, remember your intention. Slow down, connect to your breath, and sip the water and allow that to move through your body on that cellular level. If the world, right, we are 80% water, the world's 80% water. So what is it to mix our waters in a way where we're letting our prayers literally enter our body and cycle through? And so that's what I'm going to say is how to start. And um and the teachings on the water, they're available, but they're also, the way that I received them was through oral teachings. And so it's, maybe that's part of what you do. Hey, I'd love to meet people who know more about this. Could you help me find them so that I can learn more about how to do this? To find those people who tell these stories, who live these traditions, who value these rituals, and what is it to call those people into my life? And it's neat because if that's something you want to learn, I think it's beautiful that you found, or maybe you didn't even know, but you found yourself here tonight. And this just so happens to be one of the things that we're discussing. And so may this be a gift to you in your space and something that I encourage you to do every month. If you're willing, go outside tonight and commit to that beautiful grandma in that sky and say, hey, I'm going to do this every month for the next 12 months, this being the first one. That's how you're going to learn about moon water, and that's how you're going to build that relationship. Okay, what else do we got here? Great. Okay. So that's it, I think, unless there's anything else. Thank you so much for being here. It was an honor and a gift and a privilege to be here in your space and work your space and to be in your company, whether you're here on this call or receiving the recording. Yeah, I'm very happy. Thank you. And I must say, things are starting to flow. I'm glad I brought not just my tools, but other tools here because energy's moving on my end as well. So yeah, may it be that we see you again. And if not, may this have impacted your space in a good way. And happy January. And ideally, we'll see you again soon. Thank you and good night, good afternoon, good morning, wherever it is you are.